This is a tech channel, but this is a car. But hang on, it's an electric car, so I think it's worth talking about here. This is a 2017 Chevrolet Bolt. Not a Volt with a V, but a Bolt with a B. I know Chevy nailed the whole naming scheme with these here, but it's an all-electric car. It's the only all-electric car that Chevy makes, and I've owned it for a few weeks now for my hour-long commute to work, and I have a few thoughts on it. Now, I'll be honest, I wanted a Tesla at first when I was in the market for a more efficient vehicle like this, but I don't have that kind of money, so this is the next best thing. And honestly, it's the only vehicle I've found aside from the newer like Mustang Mach-E and the newer high-end type electric vehicles. The only vehicle I've found that actually has a decent enough range like a Tesla does. This thing will go well over 200 miles if you drive it well enough. And that's exactly what I needed for my commute. Like I say, it's about an hour long, and I want that range to be able to get me where I need to go, and also be able to take road trips and to be able to, go around town or forget charging it for a day or two and not have to worry about being stranded somewhere. So this thing checks all the boxes for me. Like I say, I've owned it for a few weeks now. I've been driving it pretty much every day for work, and this is an in-depth review of the 2017 Chevrolet Bolt. So before we jump in, we have to look under the hood because there's no engine. There's literally no gasoline components to it all. There's not even any oil in this car. Completely electric. One big electric motor with a giant battery pack attached to it, which is very cool. It's very unique. It's something very new. Just very, very interesting engine components under here. I mean, it doesn't even have an engine. It's a motor, but just really cool for anybody that was interested in what it looked like under the hood. But let's jump in and drive it. This is where you would plug it in. It's like the gas door, the fuel door. My plug is way over there on the wall, but I'll plug it back in when I get back later to show you how that works some more. So let's jump in. It's a proximity key. So just, you have to be near it. Proximity key, it's got remote start, all the good stuff. Jump in here. Push button start, brake start, and it's on. It doesn't sound like it's on at all. I don't know if you can hear that or not. I'll roll down the window. It is completely silent. There's no indication that it's on. I'll have to actually forget that's even on at all. Yeah, it's completely silent. It has Apple CarPlay, it has Android Auto, so that's kind of a neat feature. It's being really laggy because I'm actually filming this with my phone right now while it's plugged in. I'm actually going to unplug it just so I don't ruin anything. Before we get going, I want to point out some of the specifics that this particular model has that I got. It's the LT Comfort and Convenience package. If you were to get the Premier version, you'd get a lot more features and it's a little fancier. You get like lane keep assist and whatnot. But this is the basic with some of the comfort features. So like I have a heated steering wheel. There's heated seats in the front. The Premier version gets you heated seats in the back with like a lane keep assist. That's what that button would be. But otherwise, that's the only thing I'm missing, which I don't mind at all. Basic steering wheel controls. Up here on the dash, it's very different than what you'd expect from a normal car. Over here, we have our battery. So this is our entire battery range. It kind of tells us, the unofficial term is the guessometer, because it's kind of just guessing it. That's what you have left. And then there's a line here that goes up the side there or down that way. And as we're driving, it will trend towards better battery health, towards better range or worse range, depending on how we're driving it. So that's basically that. And obviously we have all kinds of controls to customize that and look at everything else. But I mean, that's really it. There's no fuel gauge. There's no oil gauge. There's no pressure sensors, like nothing. That's your entire gauge cluster. And it took me a bit to get used to that because it is so simple. There's just less to look at. But it is pretty easy to get the hang of once you kind of understand it going down the road. So that's that main screen. And then this screen is also, like I say, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatible. But it also kind of gives you some more info about, obviously radio and Bluetooth. But you can look at energy capacity. Now, there is a recall out on these vehicles, I should mention. There's been one out for about 5 months or so, maybe since November of 2020. Basically, of all the vehicles that they have sold, all the Bolts they've sold, about 2 or 3 of them have caught fire. And that's basically a fault of the battery manufacturing. These people had their batteries charged up to 100% and left it plugged in for several days, like, a week or longer, if they were on a trip or something like that. and the battery caught fire because it was the capacity was too high to be able to hold a charge for that long. So because of that, they issued a recall. I got the recall fixed. So now when you get that recall done, they don't let you charge the battery up all the way. So I think this is pretty close to full capacity for me right now, or right around 200 miles. I'm expecting in the next few weeks to months, they're gonna fix that and I'll be able to get my battery capacity back up. They'll do something with a software update. But that's just a look at the battery. As we're driving, we can see the flow of energy. We'll look more into that in a little bit. I can check charging settings, and I won't go into too much detail. I'll do more of a in-depth review on this later on. This is just a brief look at some of the settings and features. So it just tells you everything about the way you're driving and gives you all the information you could need about just understanding your energy impact as you're driving. So that's that. As far as the rest of the interior goes, it's actually pretty roomy. For being a small hatchback, it's not that bad actually. I'm 6'1", 6'2", somewhere in there, and I fit quite comfortably in it. It has a lot of storage room down there. This goes like way underneath. You know, it's got obviously your cup holders and all your space to store things. But what impresses me the most is I can actually sit in the back seat comfortably. So I'll show you that here. Baby car seat in the back. So every other vehicle I've been in, even our Traverse, we have a Chevy Traverse, I cannot fit in the back seat comfortably because of my knees hitting and touching the seat. In this, it's no problem. I mean, the seat in the front is adjusted to my height, the way I like it, the way I'm comfortable, and then I can sit directly behind it without further adjustment, and I'm completely comfortable. In the ceiling, I have a solid maybe 4 inches above my head to the ceiling. So I'm actually very, very surprised that I fit in this comfortably, and that just the amount of room that's back here for such a small little car. And like I say, it is a hatchback. We'll open that up here in a second. I'll show you what that looks like. Here is the back, the little trunk area. It's very spacious, very roomy, honestly. It has a little privacy shield that you can take down if you wanted. The seats fold down, but it has a lot of room. We take all kinds of strollers and hiking gear, and we pack this thing if we're gonna go out hiking for the day, and it fits everything we need. It's honestly a great little vehicle, and it stores quite a lot. Chevy really nailed the interior storage and the room on the inside of this thing. But enough of the talking. Let's go out and give it a test drive, and we'll see exactly what's so exciting about this thing. All right, so this gear shifter is a little weird. It took me a while to get used to. There's a button on the side you have to press. I'm gonna push it up and to the left to go into reverse. And we'll listen for a second. You'll notice it's actually gonna sound like a spaceship when I shift into gear. They actually added speakers under the hood because it is so silent. They actually had to add that to give pedestrians like an alert and awareness that the car is approaching. So I might actually roll down the window here. You'll hear it turn on here in a second. So we're on, we're gonna shift into gear. You hear that? That kind of like buzzing or whirring. When I park it, it stops. We'll shift back into gear again. And that just gives people an awareness that the car's approaching. Rear view camera, always nice, but I like to rely on my mirrors when I can. And we'll back it out and go for a quick ride. The awesome thing about electric vehicles is that they have instant torque. It's either on or it's off. So what we'll do is we'll come up to the road here, and I'll show you what I mean by that. It's a very fast car, and there's nobody out here. It's a country road. Nobody lives here. I mean, a few people live here, but. So right now we are stopped, and the official time from 0 to 60 on this is 6.5 seconds, but I'm gonna punch it and we'll see how it goes. That's fast. I don't even know if it comes across in video, but it throws you back. We hit all the way up to 50 on this road, so we'll slow down a little bit. Don't want to cause too much trouble down the neighborhood, but it is fast. I mean, I don't even know how to make that come across on video any better, but when you're in it, it throws you back in the seat. It's very cool. And that's it. I mean, it's an electric motor, so it's just like one speed. You basically, you have no gear clunk, no gear shift. It just goes, and it goes faster and faster and faster the more you go. So we'll turn it around here real quick, and I will show you another feature that this has. So it has an L mode, which is not low. It's just basically a more aggressive regenerative braking. Because you'll notice here when I'm driving, you can see the power I'm using on the right hand side there, how many kilowatts. When I let off the gas or the throttle, it starts decelerating and I start generating that power back as it slows down, because it spins the motor and basically turns it into a generator and puts that power back into the battery, which is a very cool piece of engineering that Chevy's not letting any bit of energy go to waste. So as you slow down, you're actually gaining energy back. Now there are two ways that they implemented in the car that you can do this even better, above and beyond this little bit of regen that we get back. There's a paddle on the back of the steering wheel right there that if I press it, I start to slow down very quickly. And I'll press it again here for you. I slow down very quickly, my brake lights come on, and I start braking really hard and start getting all that energy back. That is slowing me down purely with the friction of the motor, and it's generating current to put back into the battery while keeping the pressure and keeping the wear and tear off of the brakes, which is nice. What they also have included in the car, the other way you can really take advantage of this regenerative braking, is this low mode down here. So if I shift the gear selector into L as I'm going along, you can see we're in L now. Now it takes the pedal, they basically call it one pedal driving. So when I'm pressing the pedal down, I'm going. As soon as I start to lift up off the pedal, I'm not even lifted up all the way, I'm slowing down. So it gives me a one pedal driving capability. So like I'm coming up to this stop sign here, and I'm trying to time it, and I just start letting off. Any little bit I let off the pedal, I start slowing down and regenerating all that. So now I'm completely off, and we come to a complete stop, and I'm not even hitting the pedal, and we're not moving. I can hit it again, and we'll move. And then any little bit that I let off, we start to slow down rapidly. This is great for two reasons. Number one is we're getting power back into the battery. So you can see the flow of energy as I'm driving. And when I slow down, it starts going back into the battery. And I start driving, it goes out, I slow down, it goes back in. That's great because it really maximizes my range. We can see that little gasometer, the little green blip on the left-hand side is starting to trend towards higher mileage. So I'm actually gonna get better range here if I keep driving this way. The second reason that's great is it keeps the wear and tear off of my brakes. I never have to touch my brake pedal the entire way I'm driving to work. Or I guess I shouldn't say that. When I come to a stop, I always put my foot on the brake, because when you stop and don't press anything, obviously your brake lights won't appear on. So when I'm at a light or something, I'll press the brake pedal just to let people know behind me that I am stopped. But like right now, I haven't touched the brake the entire time we've been driving, and we can slow down enough to maneuver around the corners, hit the gas again, and keep driving. It's so great. So wear and tear is practically non-existent on the brakes, which is very nice. And so that, once I figured out how that works and how to use it, that low mode, it's a game changer. It's awesome. But yeah, those are really the two driving modes, and that's really all it is to drive this thing. Otherwise, it looks, feels, and drives just like a normal vehicle would. Chevy really didn't do anything different to make it feel like you're in a spaceship, aside from the insane amount of power that it has, and even passing power. So when you're going highway speeds, if you're going 60, 70 down the road, you still get an insane amount of torque and passing power as you're going along to be able to pass somebody. So like, let's say we're going along at 35 here in the neighborhood, and I want to speed up a little bit, I can punch it, and it throws you back so hard, and it's awesome. I gotta say, it's a lot of fun to drive. It feels like a golf cart mixed with a go-kart that's like souped up beyond belief. It's just crazy fast. It's a lot of fun, very efficient. Oh, one last thing I forgot to mention, it does have a sport mode button. If we press it there real quick, it shows sport now above the car icon. All that does is it changes the responsiveness of the pedal. So it doesn't make it go any faster. It's just that you press the pedal just a little bit and it jumps all that more quicker. So that's all it is it just moves the pedal responsiveness up a bit. So if you turn on sport mode and turn traction control off, you can really get some decent launches and some good power out of this thing. And that's one of the good things and the bad things, I guess, is that there's no maintenance. Like I say, there's no oil on this car, so you don't have to deal with oil changes. You don't have to stop at the gas station. There's no real maintenance in that regard. The only thing is your brakes, brake lines, brake fluid, brake pads, rotors, and then tires. If you're not careful and you drive this thing like crazy, you'll eat through tires like no tomorrow, which I am desperately trying to avoid. But other than that, I mean, it's fast off the line. Top speed isn't the greatest. It'll top out about 91 miles an hour. Because it's an electric motor, it does have a hard limit. I haven't even actually hit that yet. I haven't had need to, but it does top out at 91 from what I've heard. But here we are, we're back in the garage. And what we do is we hit the button, hit park, and now it's in park and it's quiet again. And we have a parking brake if we want to set it. I can press it, sets the parking brake, or I can release it. And like I say, I always forget to turn the car off because it's so quiet. I'll usually just get out, but we want to shut it down. And that just gives me some energy information since my last full charge on how I was driving, which was not great a minute ago because I was showing you the car. So now we're parked. We're gonna plug it in the garage, and it is nearly full, but I like to plug it in all the time anyway, just to keep it topped off. And this is the charging door here. So we push it to open it. And now we have a couple different options. Looking at this port, all the vehicles, this is like a standard electric charger, the plug that most electric vehicles come with. So like your Nissan Leaf, Chevy Bolt, all the standard stuff. Tesla has their own thing. They do their own weird, different thing, but this is kind of the standard plug. I'm not familiar with what the name is exactly, but that's the standard plug. Not all of them have this little orange piece down here, and this is what I'm excited about with this car, is this gives you the ability to fast charge. So most of them, or some of them, the basic models only have that plug. So like a Nissan Leaf, like I say, and that just gives you your standard charge. This little orange guy is a DC fast charging option, so we can flip that down. It's a dust cap because it's not used all the time. And now you can go to these higher end DC fast charging public stations. And if, let's say, you're on a road trip, you can plug in and get a full charge in 30 to 40 minutes instead of 3 to 4 hours on this plug that just dumps directly into the battery that way. So it's a great option if you plan on doing any kind of longer distance trips or have to charge up away from home. I'd highly recommend looking into an option that has this DC fast charging plug built in. And so then what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our charging cable here, take the lid off of that, and it just plugs right in. This is actually an electronic lock. Because it's so high voltage and high power, it actually is connected to the hot legs of the plug, so that when you press it, it will actually disconnect the wires in there as well, because if it didn't, as you're pulling it out, it would arc, and that would not be good. So we're gonna plug it in. We get an orange light on the dash, and then it blinks and it goes green. So what it's doing is it's checking the current, it's checking the charger and making sure that it's safe to charge the vehicle. And once it's safe, then a handshake is initiated, and that's when it starts charging. So right now it's telling me it's at 4 blinks, 1, 2, 3, 4, that it's pretty much all the way charged. 4 blinks is nearly full charged. Solid green is full charge. So we're almost there. This is the most information, the most knowledge I had to learn about this vehicle when buying it, because you have to know how to charge it. It's not like a gas station that you just go to. So something worth noting is that these cables are not actually chargers. The charger itself is actually built into the car next to the battery. So what you're doing when you're plugging it in this instance, is we're just feeding that trickle charger And so that is in turn feeding the battery. It's just an internal safety mechanism to ensure proper charging capacities, because you're going to be plugging into who knows what, how many different outlets. It's just a safety redundancy they have built into the car. So what happens is when you're using DC fast charging, like this little plug down here, is that goes directly into the battery. Because think about it, battery power is DC. So this power that's getting out of the wall is AC. So it has to go into a charger, basically an inverter, convert it to DC to be able to store it into the battery. With this, the DC fast charging, you're actually getting a direct current, DC current, and it goes directly into the battery. That's how it's so much faster. But all that to say, AC charging is slower, DC fast charging is faster. So then looking at the battery here, what it comes with is it comes with a standard wall plug that'll plug into your standard outlet here. And what that'll give you is a rate very slow. It's a rate of about 2 miles of range per hour of charge when you have it plugged in. And when you're driving as far as I am every day, you don't recoup your range in the overnight time period when you have it parked at home. So I needed something faster. So what I ended up doing is I went and researched and got the full capacity. This car can handle 32 amps of current, of charge. That's the fastest it'll charge. And I had to have basically a dryer plug installed. This is like a NEMA type outlet. The electrician just came and installed it for me. I got this new charger, this plug. So now instead of taking about 4 days to charge up, which is what it did before, it now charges up in about 3 to 4 hours. So by the time I get home, I plug it in. You know, if I had to go out again a little bit later, it's completely charged and full and ready to go. So definitely would recommend investing in some kind of faster charging system if you decide to get this vehicle. And it wasn't honestly that bad. It was like $300 for the charger and $300 for the outlet over there. And our electric co-op, our electric company actually had a rebate program, so they ended up paying 50% of all of it, the charger and the install. So definitely worth it. Definitely an awesome bargain. And as far as price goes on the electric bill, it's not that bad. From what I've researched and seen is that people pay nearly probably $20 to $30 extra a month on their bill to be able to charge this thing, which is pretty good. I mean, that's like the equivalent of a half a tank of gas on our Traverse, so it's definitely worth the cost there. Thank you so much for coming along on this virtual test drive. I know this isn't my usual style video. I don't do anything in the realm of vehicles, but I just wanted to give you, just a look at this because it is electric. I think it's definitely worth talking about here. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this interesting, maybe learned something, and I'll see you in the next one.